Let's declick the iris of this Vivitar Kiron made 24 F2. So let's just get right into it. The whole process is going to take us about 5 minutes. First, we're going to remove the lens mount from the back. Now, a little trick here. I use a pair of small vice grips to grab the shaft of the screwdriver so that I can put enough pressure on the screwdriver to break the screws open. It takes quite a bit of pressure, but usually about a quarter turn. And notice how I'm rotating the lens around the screwdriver. If you try and do it the other way around, you're just going to wind up flipping the thing right off the desk. So this way I can maintain a pretty firm grip on the lens and it doesn't get away from me. It's really pretty amazing how tight they get these screws in at the factory, but with enough pressure, we'll get them out. And let's just spin them out, and I'm going to grab a pair of forceps to pick these things up, get them out of the holes, and yeah, I probably should have put them in the lens cap there, but I didn't. And as I remove the screws, I'm trying to keep a little bit of pressure on the lens mount because you never know when there might be a spring or some other weird little part that's going to pop out or go out of alignment. So I want to look at what I'm doing, be careful, and as I get this last screw out, I'm going to lift carefully and, oh, that one didn't quite come out. Let's get it out of the way. I'm going to lift carefully to see if there's any spring tension. And guess what? This one's simple. No problems here. So let's take a look at this lever in here. The outer iris ring actuates this lever, and it has to fit in that slot in order for the outer ring to actuate the iris. And of course, I goofed this up when I put it back together, and it cost me 5 minutes that I'm not going to show you. So just kind of take a good look in there and get a little bit of understanding of what's going on. We're going to remove this brass shim and set that to the side. And we have 3 more screws to deal with. Thankfully, these screws are in finger tight and they come right out without a problem. And we're going to set those on the side here. With those screws now out of the way, I'm going to lift this ring up very carefully because now we're inside the lens, and again, you never know what little weird things are going to happen. It feels good, I lift it up. And there is the little ball that makes the iris ring click. Yep, that tiny little ball. All you got to do is pick it up with the tip of your finger and get rid of it. Of course, now we're going to reassemble the lens, and I'm kind of going through this the first time. And remember when I said I missed getting that one part into alignment? Well, guess what? We've got it all together. Looks good, feels good. Oh, yeah, the iris is not actuating. So guess what? Take it all apart again. That only took me a minute to do. And this time, you see that alignment right there? That lever has to be in there, so we're going to have to take these other 3 screws off and put the thing back together correctly. But hey, sometimes you just got to make these little simple mistakes, and if it happens to you, don't get frustrated. Don't think that you broke the lens and you're going to have to send it off to a repair shop. You're just going to need to tinker around with it a little bit and figure out how these levers go together. And they're not all the same. They do vary a bit between different lens companies. There we go. We've got it in the slot correctly. And we're just going to reassemble it now, and this all goes pretty well. So again, if it doesn't work the first time, don't freak out. It just means that you're going to have to play around with the assembly a little bit. And this lens was pretty nice and clean. It didn't have any weird springs, levers, or whatever's that came apart and that you had to really tinker around with to put back together. So the entire reassembly process really only took me about a minute or two if I would have played this in real time. This took a little figuring around, but even as I put some pressure on to make sure this time I see everything is working correctly, let's put those other screws in and we'll finish this up. So the entire process should take about 5 minutes start to finish, depending on how stubborn the screws are to get out, and you just have to learn how to get enough pressure on them so that you get them out. Tighten it up. If you really wanted to, you could put a drop of Loctite. I mean, a tiny little bit if you're worried about those screws working loose. We're putting on the EF to OM adapter, and you'll see now we now have a declicked iris that operates smoothly. This ring turns very easily, and it almost wants a little bit of resistance. It's possible you might decide that you want to put a small piece of felt or something inside that iris ring where the ball bearing had been.